Hey guys, I'm Liz, and here's all the different tests and experiments that I'll be putting my Black Diamond Apollo through, and also some cool shots along the way. Okay, I've had this Apollo lantern for about 3 years now, so there's not going to be a real unboxing here. I did keep the original packaging though from 3 years ago, and I'll just do a quick fake unboxing for you here with my kind of worn out packaging. When I bought this Apollo about 3 years ago, here's everything I got in the box. I got the lantern itself, a charging cable, and also some instructions to go with it. There's quite a lot to get into with the instructions, so I'll just leave it on the screen here so that you can pause it at any time. There's also a PDF version of that online, so I'll leave the link in the description below so you can check it out if you want to. Now here's a very quick guide on how to use this Apollo, and to turn it on there's a single button at the front of this lantern and you can just press on it to turn it on. This lantern has two battery sources. It can take external batteries, and it also has an internal lithium-ion rechargeable battery. Right now, I've only charged the internal battery, so that's why only the left of the lantern is lighted up. The right side has no lights. For the external batteries, you can just twist and pop open the top of the lantern. As you can see, it takes 3 AA batteries, which are to go in here. The Apollo also has 3 adjustable legs. I think I'm just going to call it that, and you can use it or you can not, it's up to you. There's also a hook at the top of the lantern. Again, you can use it or not. Let's hit the power button again to turn the light on and just release that button right away. Now to adjust the brightness of the lantern, just press and hold on the same power button. When it gets to the brightest setting, it'll blink once to let you know that you're there, and you can just release the button to keep it on the brightest setting. This Apollo also has a strobe light mode. To get to that, just hit the power button 3 times very quickly. You can get to this mode with just 3 quick presses, whether the lantern is on or whether it's been turned off in the first place. This light mode produces very bright flashes of light at its brightest setting. This is not an SOS mode, it's just a simple regular strobe mode. Now moving on to the actual experiments that I did with this Apollo, we're going to start off with the number of lumens in this lantern. Black Diamond says that this has a max lumen output of about 250 lumens and a minimum lumen output of 10 lumens. Okay, to test this, I'll be using this lux meter to measure exactly how many lumens this Apollo is giving out. At its maximum output, so the brightest setting that I told you about near the beginning of this video, it has a reading of 362 lumens. What about the dimmest setting instead? Well, that has a reading of 23 lumens on the lux meter. Overall, this Apollo gave off 45% more light than it should have, which is really quite impressive. Now that we've got the lumen output, what is the shine area of this Apollo? So like how far can the light be thrown, and what is the area being lighted up by this lantern? Naturally, I'd think that the bigger the area lighted up, the better this lantern is. So Black Diamond says that the brightest setting can throw light up to a whopping 14 meters. That's almost 46 feet. Does it though? Let's find out. So I've got my Apollo sitting here on my tripod, and I'm going to use my lux meter again to try and measure the shine area here. This is actually 14 meters. Okay, I'm right up close to the Apollo now, and the lux meter is showing just above 250 lumens. And now I'm going to very slowly back away from the lantern. The lumen reading is dropping quite a bit, and now, okay, we've got a 0 lumen reading on the lux meter now. This means that the lux meter can no longer detect any light from the Apollo there. Now, what is this distance here? That's going to give us the distance at which the light is thrown from the lantern. And that comes in at about 8.5 footsteps to get to where the lantern is. And I measured that distance, and that comes in at just 7.3 feet or 2.2 meters. That is nowhere near the 14 meters that Black Diamond is marketing, but hey, at least now you know. Now that I've just fed you all this info on the lumen output and the shine area, what exactly does this mean when you go camping? This is my Apollo hanging at the top of a 6-person Coleman Sundome, and here's roughly how much of the bottom of the tent is lighted up. Basically, the whole tent lighted up. Now, the same thing but on the dimmest setting. Definitely a lot less light it up. With this dimmer setting, you won't be able to do fun stuff like play cards or even read at night. I can see the words here a little bit, but it's a strain on the eyes. Now, what about the brightest setting? You can read or do stuff really easily. The entire tent is nicely lighted up. I'm actually sitting right at the edge of the tent, and my book is still very well lighted up. Now, here's what the Apollo looks like in the sundome, but from the outside of the tent. Here's the brightest setting first. I'm gonna go dim it down next, and here's the dimmest setting. And the brightest setting again, which really does light up the entire tent very nicely. And this is what the strobe lighting looks like. I like to have it as a little night light beside my bed too. It's just nice to have it there instead of overhead all the time. And without the tent, here's what the Apollo looks like. This is when the lantern is off. This is the Apollo at its brightest. Here's what it looks like at its dimmest, and here's the strobe function. The light quality of the Apollo was really good. It's definitely not a warm yellow light, it's more of a white light, and while I usually prefer yellow to white, this Apollo always felt very easy on the eyes and it wasn't harsh at all. I think it has a really high quality frosted diffuser globe. It's matte, not too glossy, and I felt that the light diffusion was really good and it never felt glaring. Here's me lying down in my 6-person sundome, and here's what the Apollo looks like from my position. This is the dimmest setting, and now this is the brightest setting. Everything's nicely lighted up, and this is what the Apollo looks like. So not too bad, not too glaring. When it comes to the runtime of the Apollo, I have quite a lot of info to give you because it has 2 different battery sources, the external and internal battery, but don't worry, I'll try to break it down very easily for you to understand. Now, first, for the longest runtime possible, you've got to put it on the dimmest setting. At this setting, Black Diamond says that this will run for 30 hours from the internal battery and 120 hours from external batteries, giving you a whopping 150 hours of total runtime. For the internal battery, I got this to run for a whopping 68 hours, which is way more than the 30 hours marketed by Black Diamond. After I completely drained the internal battery, I popped the top of the lantern off, stuffed in some analog batteries that I've been using for a few years now, and started the runtime test again. This dimmest setting here ran for 97 hours. But that's my bad because my analog batteries are no longer at full capacity after using them for a few years. I think they're more like a 70 to 80% capacity now. If my batteries were at the full 100% capacity, that will bring my runtime up to a whopping 121 hours, exactly like what Black Diamond said it would be. Now, for the maximum runtime on the dimmest setting, here's all the info that I've given you so far. And so far, I've been very impressed with the runtime compared to what I thought it would be. Now, we've got to test the runtime when running on the brightest setting. Black Diamond says that this will run for 6 hours on the internal battery and 18 hours on the external AA batteries, giving you a whopping 24 hours of total runtime. And again, here's a quick table of info to show you how long my Apollo ran for and when I turned the max brightness on. The internal battery is still running for about 6 hours, which is really good after a few years. However, on fresh analog batteries, I only got about 14 hours of runtime, which is a little lower than I was expecting. So altogether, I'd say you get 20 hours of bright light. As I was running the runtime experiments, I noticed that the battery light indicators were actually quite helpful and quite accurate. For example, in my 6-hour max brightness on the internal battery, the lights were full when I first started test. 1.5 hours in, or 25% in, it went from 3 lights to 2 lights. 4.5 hours in, or 75% of the runtime later, it went down to 1 light. I didn't see this last bit here, my light just went out at about 6 hours in. So yeah, it's pretty accurate from what I've seen. But there were a couple of things I didn't quite like. One, I found it hard to tell exactly how many lights are on at any given time. If you take a look at the lights here, it looks like there's 2 blue lights from this angle, but one of them looks a little bit dimmer than the other. And if you tilt the lantern just very slightly, it'll look like there's only 1 blue light at this angle. Not the easiest to read for sure. The other thing I didn't like is that I had to turn the lantern off and then on again to check on the battery level every single time. I would rather that the lights just stay on the whole time. Now, when the batteries are completely flat and when you hit the power button, there will be no light at all and there will also be no battery lights. So we're gonna have to charge this. The Apollo comes with a USB-A to micro USB cable, I think that's what it is, and after about 3 years of having this lantern, I noticed that the cable has started fraying a little bit. Okay, fraying a lot. I no longer use this cable, but you can just get a replacement cable just about anywhere. Now you're supposed to plug the micro USB end into the lantern and the other end into the power socket. When the lantern is plugged in, 1 out of 3 of the battery light indicators will start blinking. Then the second light will blink, then the third light, and when none of the lights are blinking, that means it's fully charged. The Polar is supposed to take 8 hours to charge, but mine took only about 5 hours because it's now more than 3 years old, so the internal battery might have depleted a little bit. Now, so far we've used the micro USB to charge the Apollo, so you can shut this now. And here's another flap we can open here with the standard USB. This, my friends, is for the charge out function of the Apollo. I wish I could show you how this works, but mine very sadly doesn't work anymore. Here are some screenshots for you. I'm starting off with a 30% charge, and 15 minutes later at the 40% charge mark, it just stops charging altogether. I try to get it to charge again, but it stops again at 41%. There's still loads of light left, but no charging of my phone at all. It used to work though, and I think I used to be able to charge my phone in maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours, if I remember correctly. It has a 2600 milliampere hour capacity, which is about 1 full charge of an iPhone 12. As for the general ease of use and user friendliness, here are a few things to take note of. First up, I love that it remembers your last brightness setting. So if you had it on the dimmest setting when you previously used it, it will turn on again at the dimmest setting. Now the top hook is really high quality, it sits very nicely at the top, and you can just pull it out when you want to hang this up. You can use just one hook, but I prefer to use both of them to create a full loop so it won't fall off, and I was able to hang my Apollo in just about every single camping tent I've ever used. It's also a nice size that I'm able to hold it firmly in my hands without it slipping out, and the power button is quite nice and big that I'm able to locate it even in the dark. And I like the 3 adjustable legs at the bottom so that I could stand it up just about everywhere, even on uneven terrain. There's one more mode I haven't talked about yet, and that's the lock mode. Make sure the Apollo is off and then hold the power button for about 3 seconds. The light will turn on for a bit and then go off, and the battery lights will start flashing. After they flash, that means your Apollo is now locked. This means that you can dump it into your bag or with all your other stuff and have peace of mind that it won't turn on even if the power button is accidentally pressed. The battery lights will just flash to indicate that it's still in lock mode. This is especially important for the Apollo because I've dumped it into my bag tons of times only to find out that it was lighted up and draining the battery hours later. To unlock the Apollo, just press and hold the power button again for 3 seconds until the lantern light flashes. That means it's unlocked and you can now turn it back on anytime you want. Exactly how portable is the Apollo? It has a packed size of about 3 1/4 by 3 1/4 by 4.5 inches. That's about 8.3 by 8.3 by 11.4 centimeters. And it weighs about 10.23 ounces or 290 grams without batteries. With the 3 AA batteries, let me quickly get them in. Its weight comes up to about 369 grams or about 13 ounces. The Apollo has a rating of IPX4, which means it's splash proof, but should not be immersed in water. I've tested the Apollo against tons of light rain in the past because I've been using this for quite a few years now, and it's still working great. In this shot, it looks like it's blinking, but it's not. It's just showing up on my phone like that for some strange reason. I also decided to test my Apollo against about 20 minutes of heavy rain just to see what happens, and here are some shots of my heavy rain testing in case you want to check them out. After the heavy rain test, here's what I noticed. If you check out the 2 ports of the Apollo, both of them have drops of water from the heavy rain test inside the port itself. The seal on both these ports could be better for more water resistance, I think. And also, when I opened the battery compartment, the rim also had drops of water all around the compartment. I think I know why it can't be submerged now, because the sealing on this lantern won't be able to stop water from getting in. I've actually dropped this lantern more times than I can count in the past from about my hand height, and every single time it's still held up perfectly fine. The Apollo has a warranty length of about 3 years, which is not very long. Mine is now more than 3 years old, which is why I can't do anything about the faulty charge out function anymore. For pros, I found the Apollo to be quite a feature-rich lantern. Not the most features, but the ones it has is very useful. How does it compare to some other rechargeable lanterns that I've tested? The top hook is one of the best ones I've seen. Very few camping lanterns have these hooks here that overlap each other so that the Apollo will never fall off your tent's lantern hook. And also, the adjustable legs makes it a very useful feature for camping. Most of the lanterns that I've just showed you do not have these legs. And my favorite feature is easily the 2 battery sources, an internal rechargeable lithium-ion battery, and also external batteries. This is not very common in most camping lanterns I've seen, and all the other camping lanterns in this shot only have 1 battery source each, which is the internal rechargeable battery. I think this makes the Apollo a great lantern for emergencies because you will have an unlimited supply of light as long as you have loads of these AA batteries. There's also one more feature I haven't yet mentioned. The internal battery is the default power source. Only after the charge has run out on this internal battery will the lantern access the external batteries. If you want the external batteries to be the default though, there's this tiny button here that you can press and then hold for a few seconds. When you do so, both battery lights will flash and one will stay lighted up. That's currently the default source. You can change the default to any power source anytime you want, which is very neat. The next pro is the great lumen output. I really like that it has more than 100 lumens than the output that Black Diamond says it has. It's also bright enough to light up a 6-person tent completely and dim enough with a minimum of 23 lumens to be able to use as a nightlight on the ground. Just take note that it doesn't have a bright enough output for huge area lighting, like to light up an entire campsite. I was also very impressed by the runtime of this lantern on the brightest setting. Just a 6-hour runtime on the brightest lumen output is actually higher than most other rechargeable lanterns that I have. Here are a couple of other popular camping lanterns and how the Apollo compares. And with the external batteries, you can get almost a full day of very bright light, 20 hours to be exact, and then still have 6 hours of dim light to get by if you need to. That's very, very impressive. Just take note though that the runtime on the dimmest setting is not so impressive when compared to other rechargeable lanterns. Here are the same ones that I showed you before. The Apollo is quite low compared to these, and that's taking into account both the internal and external batteries. And of course, I found the Apollo very easy to use and very intuitive, and I liked it very much. But here's where we get into the cons, and the Apollo is very intuitive because it doesn't have a lot of light modes. There aren't any colorful modes, no SOS mode, and I usually like to have a warm or at least a red light mode to wind down at night. But to be fair, the light quality is good and it never looks too glaring, even though it's more of a white light. And I'm quite disappointed that my charge out function died after like 3+ years. I kind of didn't think it would, and maybe it's because I don't use it very much. But overall, I really liked the Apollo for being very high quality and my reliable camping lantern for the last few years, with of course the exception of the phone charging function. Would I recommend it? Absolutely yes, if you're looking for a reliable, hardy, simple camping light. If you prefer having more light modes and more functions though, you may want to check out this video on the screen here where I compare 11 other rechargeable lanterns. You're awesome, and I'll see you in that one.